Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another installment of Escape the Matrix. Here we are on episode 2 tonight. And as we're recording this, it is Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving. Thankful for all of you out there listening. And I hope you enjoyed the day and had some good food.
Yes, and we all have things to be thankful for, and today I'd like to start off by saying I'm thankful for my friendship with Trent, friendship with a lot of my other friends, and definitely thankful for family, because at the end of the day, your family's always going to be there, and even if you don't have family, well, consider us your family, guys, because I think we're all children of God, so why not be in this together?
It's wonderfully put. I would absolutely agree. And today's episode is going to be a little more honing in on what we mean when we say something like escape the Matrix. You know, we're not talking about being Keanu Reeves and starring in a movie, but we are going to kind of tone in a little bit more on what it means for us to escape the Matrix, how we may go about achieving that, and how we hope to help other people do the same thing, at least those that want to.
Well said, Trent. And first, I think we should start by defining what it is the Matrix actually is. Because, like you said, it's not Keanu Reeves movie-esque. It's a little bit more holistic than that. So the best definition that we came up with for what the Matrix is the Matrix is essentially living in a world where you are limited by other people and entities. And Trent had a really good description of escaping the Matrix, and it's you escape the Matrix by being able to go to, what was it, like Peru or something the next day? Yeah, like just having the option and the time to do whatever it is really that you're feeling. I think that's a pretty solid definition of the Matrix as we understand it, right?
Yeah, I'd say it's a solid start. I'd also think throughout the journey of escaping the Matrix, it's going to be a definition that, like gender nowadays, is a little bit more fluid, and it might evolve as we go on, because I'm sure there are different levels to achieving different states of freedom, whether it be physical freedom, financial freedom, emotional freedom, and there's really a lot of different layers to freedom that a lot of people might not think about every day. And I think Tony Robbins would be a pretty good person to listen to as far as, financial freedom would go, and emotional freedom too. Because whenever you go to accomplish something in life, one way to look at it is you're really not looking to accomplish a task per se. You're looking to achieve the feelings that come from accomplishing said task.
I like that. Really getting into the more emotional side of our human nature. So I think that's something that a lot of us neglect, is that emotional side. We're all just kind of, I know I am at least, I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I can definitely get tied up in the physical things in life, like money and paying bills, and I think that the emotional side of freedom definitely needs to be having a better look at, a little deeper look, because we're all humans, we're all emotional, we all feel those feelings, and sometimes you can't even describe them, honestly, but I think we're going to do our best today.
And describing emotions can be such a complex thing. For example, I'm only 22 years old, turning 23 here pretty shortly, and it would be really, ignorant for me to say I've experienced every emotion on the emotional spectrum. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've had a lot of experience and a lot of things happen in life, but being only 22 years old, with the average lifespan being, 72 or something like that nowadays, there's obviously a whole lot to life I haven't experienced, and I'm not sure how I will react to certain situations, as well as facing certain emotions as well.
I think that's just pretty reasonable. And what we wanted to really do by starting this podcast, How to Escape the Matrix, is really just have a conversation about how to achieve that state of freedom and really put it into kind of like practical terms, because I'll be honest, I don't know exactly how to escape the Matrix just yet. So everybody listening right now, you're going to kind of help us learn how to escape the Matrix together, and you're going to hear us probably poke at some new topics, and we're not going to have a full idea of what it is we are discussing, but the point of discussing is to get to the bottom of it. So, just by mere fact of us talking about it, I think we have an opportunity to escape the Matrix together.
Absolutely. And comment down below what you think the Matrix might be, or your definition of it, and what freedom means to you, because I think every person has a different definition of what being free would be for them. Some people might want to make sure whenever they grow up, they have enough of a financial strong point to send their kids to college without them having to worry about it. Some people, it might be being able to take an RV all around the world, or have a sailboat and sail the oceans and visit different places. Personally, for me, I think the first and most important step to escaping the Matrix is having a strong enough sense of self-worth and self-empowerment, knowing that you're worthy enough to escape the Matrix, and that you can actually get the things in life that you want to get out of life.
Yeah, so you think escaping the Matrix is kind of like getting after what you want in life and not being hindered by other things, like especially yourself, not being hindered by yourself.
Yourself, first and foremost. Yourself is the first thing and the first person that, for lack of better terms, you're going to have to conquer whenever it comes to escaping something like that. And I don't know about you, I can't speak for everyone, but I mean, I make music, and I get in creative blocks where there's a voice in my head where I sit there and I get stuck in 4 to 8 bar loops, and I just can't let myself create more. I just feel like it's not good enough. People won't like this, blah, blah, blah. That creative voice that says you're not enough.
No, I understand that, especially as an artist as well, more of like paintings and drawings and stuff. There's always that like self-critical aspect when you're doing stuff, and I think that while that self-criticism can definitely like help your art, at the same time it could also hinder it too, because like you said, you kind of get in a creative block every now and again, and I worry about perpetuating that block on yourself. And I think it's really important to just kind of take a step back sometimes and just take a deep breath. I know that sounds super cliche, but really just taking a deep breath sometimes when you're feeling like that.
Take a deep breath. Go out for a walk for 15 to 30 minutes. Nature and the sunlight can really help alter your state of mind. Breathing techniques can definitely help. I've heard a lot of people say that breathing can be a route to self-emotional mastery. And to add on to that, there's a really great book, if you've ever heard of it. It's by Julia Cameron. It's called The Artist Way. It's a 12-week creative endeavor that you undertake, which I haven't been able to complete yet myself. And the basis is reconnecting to your inner creative self. It has a whole bunch of activities that you do throughout it. One of them is something called morning pages. You get up in the morning and you write 3 pages just off the top of your head without any type of stopping or blocking. And some mornings that might be writing the same word 30, 50, 100 times in a row. The fact of the matter is you're getting up and you're completing something and not letting anything stop you, no matter how stupid it might seem.
Especially not yourself, because in that instance, when you're writing 3 pages a day when you wake up, it's literally just you and the piece of paper in front of you. You know, there's not somebody over your shoulder. There's not, this voice in your ear. It's literally just yourself. And I think that's a really positive step towards building your own personal freedom, honestly. Taking control of your life, and I've heard it described as taking agency, like agency of your life. And I think that's a really important step to escape this matrix that we're in, because you really have to be in tune with yourself and not consumed by all the distractions that we're constantly bombarded with on a daily basis through social media, through even YouTube ads and other random media outlets you don't really think about.
And one of the really powerful parts about doing something like this whenever you get up in the morning is you're still in between a bridge between your subconscious and conscious mind whenever you wake up in the morning. You're getting out of the dream world. And if you've ever lucid dreamed, you know the dream world can be something very malleable and very creative. And out of the confines of this reality, even as far as, flying, teleporting, transporting, even being a whole nother being, be it an animal or, just a completely different person. And that kind of comes more in line with the breathing too, because through breathing, you can also shift your brain state into alpha states, beta states, delta states, and gamma states. And whenever you go into these states of being, like gamma is supposed to be a super highly charged, um, dare I say, what is described as a near religious experience. Even something that you could experience through the process of a psychedelic, you can access that state through your breathing and body work alone, which is something that I wish I did more, and it completely blows my mind. It definitely takes a degree of self-control for it as well.
I could see that. Definitely self-control. It's interesting. I first learned how to breathe during choir classes. So, in order to get your lungs to a capacity where you need to essentially hold a note for 4 bars at a time, because sometimes you got to do that in choir. You're just like, oh, for way too long. And a way to kind of build up your breathing capacity is you count your breaths. In 1, 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4, and then you can get that all the way up. I think the highest I ever went was in for 24 and out for 30. And you really have to pay attention to how you're breathing and how the control of your breath works with your body. Because if you just try it right now, guys. If you're listening to this and you got a second to just breathe, try breathing in for 8 seconds. Now pace yourself. Just a little bit of advice. All right, ready? Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, for some of you guys, maybe you breathed in a little too strongly at first, or maybe you breathed out a little timidly at first, and then at the 7th and 8th beat, you were just rushing to get that air out, But if you get that perfect medium and learning how to control your breaths, I think it'll really give you a sense of clarity almost in the moment, because you're really focusing on yourself in the now, and especially how your breathing is related to how you act, I think is very apparent. When you're doing sports, you're breathing heavy and hard, right? Because you're doing hard-ass work. And maybe when you're just cooking or listening to music at home, you're not breathing so hard. So being able to control your breath and having that personal control over your breath, I think will allow you some more freedoms too, because if someone's really ticking you off, I know it sounds cliche, but you can just breathe. You control your breaths, and you can control your emotional state with your breaths. So I think that's a really important place to start, is breathing.
Absolutely. And to kind of build on that too, I'm no expert, but there are a couple people out there that have dedicated a lot of time and a lot of effort to breathwork. And two people that I think are very intelligent, very incredible people that you can kind of look after. The first one I'm going to name, he's, I would say, a little less known, and I think he should have a much bigger influence in today's culture. And his name is Stanislav Grof. He is, I believe...
That is a name.
Stanislav Grof, yes. He got his PhD, so he's a doctor, very intelligent man, a lot of history behind him. And his story starts, he did psychotherapy with LSD way back when it was still an experimental drug, people were still trying it out. And the leaps and bounds this man made as far as psychology goes, even bridging it into your physical body, was phenomenal. And of course, as we all know, LSD is now, I believe, a Schedule 1 narcotic, so that became out of access to them. So what he did was he took it a step further and he invented a method called holotropic breathwork.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that.
And holotropic breathwork is an incredibly intense, phenomenal phenomenon where you literally lie on the ground, and it's recommended you have a partner, and you do full, complete belly breathing for upwards of an hour and a half.
Wow.
And once you get 5 to 10 minutes into this breath work, you're going to feel the extremities of your body from your hands to your feet absolutely buzzing and tingling with energy.
You know what that reminds me of?
Huh.
That Kundalini class we took.
Oh, man.
Do you remember that?
Absolutely.
So Trent took me to this yoga Kundalini class, and if you guys don't know, Kundalini is all about breathing. And I think one of the core parts of Kundalini is breathing out the heavy air in your body and replacing it with lighter air, for instance. So you're breathing out all your carbon dioxide, all those like really heavy air molecules that fall. So I remember literally just, she's like, all right, breathe out. And I was like, no, you got to breathe out more. Like, you got to push it out. Literally, like squeeze your lungs and get it all out. And that was a really good breathing experience for me. And same feeling, very tingly, very, very tingly feeling after all that breath work.
Oh yeah, Kundalini yoga is an incredible practice. It's very lifelong commitment, and in Western culture, at least as far as the psychoanalyst Carl Jung was concerned, it's not something that is exactly adoptable and malleable by our Western culture because of all the Eastern symbolism that goes behind it. However, I don't think that East and West and boundaries are something that should be entertained. I think no matter who you are, you still have something to learn from other parts of other cultures. And we have one of our friends, his name is Mike, he's in the military right now, but we took him to one of the classes too, and he actually ended up getting kind of visual hallucinations after some of the breath work. He would see some type of yellow geometric shapes in the air after he did some of the breathing, and it just really goes to show how incredible and how transformative something as easy as breathing can be to your states of consciousness.
I would agree. I would agree wholeheartedly. You know, there was a period when we were in the club, and I looked at you, and you weren't sweating one bit. Your hair looked as good as when you stepped out of the fucking bathroom when we were on our way up there. And you know what you said to me?
I could not, in this particular instance, remember what I said. Enlighten me.
You said, control your breathing. Breathe slow. And at the time, I think I might have been rolling under some sort of psychedelic experience, and I myself was sweating quite a bit. So I took Trent's advice, and I just started to breathe slow, really control my breaths. I still had the same energy as I did before, but I felt more in tune almost, and definitely more relaxed at the same time, which I think just goes to show that your breathing can affect your mood and your emotional state at the same time.
And then the other person I wanted to bring up, which I'm sure he's been an internet phenomenon lately, doing all sorts of, dare I say, superhuman tasks, Wim Hof.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, the Wim Hof breathing techniques are absolutely incredible. Cold showers are another thing that he recommends, and you really start to realize how your body and breath are connected. That first cold shower you hop into, you're going to be breathing shallow. You're not going to enjoy it. You're going to want to hop out. But then you hop out of that shower that first time, and you're just brought back to life on a whole nother level. And Wim Hof breathing is an absolutely incredible thing. If you don't have an hour for holotropic breath work, Wim Hof is about 15 minutes. And it's very similar. You sit down, and you don't hyperventilate, but you definitely take deep breaths. And Jordan was mentioning earlier the count to 8 and then out for 8. And the Wim Hof breathing, you are going to, when you count to 8 and you do your inhale, you hold at the top of that. And you hold for a couple seconds, and then you let that out as well.
I would agree. And I think one important thing to note in here is the effect that it has on your body on like a cellular level. So when you take in all of that oxygen, you're actually hyperoxygenating your blood because your blood carries oxygen from your heart to your toes to your head all over the place. So when you're really packing your blood cells with this fresh oxygen, it really does correlate to your blood flow and your physicality just in general, I think. And having that increased blood flow and that increased blood oxygen levels, it really does lead to a different level of clarity than you had prior to trying those exercises. So seriously, guys, look up Wim Hof, Wimhof. Guy is a literal beast. Like,
actually, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how else to describe it, but look him up. Look up some of the breathing patterns and give it a try because I guarantee you will feel something, and dare I say, a little bit better after you try those breathing exercises.
That's a confident claim to make too. You're definitely going to be feeling better than you were before that you went into it. And as far as we were talking about the clarity that comes with the breath work, bringing it back into a little bit of a full circle, it helps dull out that voice that tells you maybe you're not enough, or maybe this creation that you're working on isn't good enough. It almost gives you a heightened sense of
like your own self,
proper confidence too. Yeah, it's not a false sense of confidence, which I would say is cockiness. It's more of a pure, true confidence that you can really, like a master samurai would go into battle and know that he knows how to use his sword.
Just that confidence level. Yeah, no, I see that 100%. So now that we have covered breathing, I think, pretty extensively, which is, I think, important to achieving personal freedom. What else do you think is important to achieving that kind of like personal freedom? Maybe just from like a beginner standpoint.
From a beginner standpoint, achieving a sense of personal freedom, you got to write it down. You got to at least have some sort of basis for starting for, and you got to have something that you want to accomplish. And as a beginner, this by no means has to be anything big. As a beginner, this could be something as easy as making your bed when you get up in the morning.
Absolutely. And one thing I've done is when I wake up in the morning, I'll write down like the top 3 things that I want to do for that day. And then underneath of that, I'll put like maybe doing laundry or like some extra tasks that if I complete, I'd be pretty happy with. But if I didn't get around to it, that's okay, because at least I got my big 3 out of the way.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
And don't think it'll be easy, because a lot of times you're going to get your big 3 out of the way. The end of the day is going to come along and you're going to think to yourself, fuck, I could have done more. And it's not really a bad thing, though. It's just your desire to keep going, to keep getting better. It's natural human instinct to want to keep progressing.
To want to improve. Yeah, absolutely. I think that natural kind of like instinct to push forward is somewhat muted nowadays. It's like we don't really feel that pressure to do better, to be better, because there's a lot of complacency and a lot of comfort in today's society. Like a lot of people don't really venture outside their comfort zone nowadays. And that's, to me, it's a little sad, because if you don't get outside your comfort zone, how are you not going to have new experiences? They're not going to change your mind. So you have to kind of have a little adventurous spirit, dare I say, to kind of experience those things you normally wouldn't if you're in your comfort zone.
That made me think of a great story, and I would love for you to share an experience of you stepping out of your comfort zone after as well.
Sure.
So one morning, Jordan and I woke up, just enjoying the day. We're some young dudes, and we got the world at our fingertips, at least so it seems. So
Still do.
Exactly. So we're in Sarasota, Florida, and we went to world famous Siesta Key Beach, which is an incredible place. It's borderline paradise. And we go out to the beach, and we see these people playing volleyball. So we're like, you know what? We want to play volleyball too. So we walk up to them and we start playing volleyball with them. And so it's two girls and I think a guy or two maybe also. And so it was a night, it was a Sunday night. And for those of you who don't know, every Sunday night there's something called the Drum Circle at Siesta Key Beach. Out there it gets really packed too. Sometimes up to 200 people out there. They all bring their drums and dance, and it goes with the sunset. It's a very ritualistic type of thing. So it's a huge circle with all these people around, and there is a sandcastle plastered in the middle of this circle. And we were all talking, getting friends with each other, and there was one girl that was saying, wow, we should go dance on that sandcastle and destroy it in the middle of the drum circle. And the other girl was like, no, that's someone's sandcastle. They created it. We should preserve it. And at the time, I decided to choose to go with the thought process of the girl that said destroy it. So in front of at least 100 people, this girl and I go in the middle of the drum circle and start dancing on top of this sandcastle, completely destroying it, and everyone's just watching us sitting in the middle of a drum circle dancing. And that is not something that I was comfortable with.
Definitely not.
But to this day, I still remember it like it was yesterday. She handed me and picked me a yellow flower and gave it to me. And just everything about it was just so uncomfortable, but also really fulfilling for the day as well.
I remember that day. You're like, dude, should I go dance in the middle of there? And I'm like, no. I was actually on the side of not destroying the castle. But I looked away for like a quarter of a second, and I looked back, and you're over there just dancing on it, and I couldn't help but just laugh. I just had to laugh. I was like, this man is doing something I could not do right now. And you know what? Everybody in the audience, they didn't really care. They really didn't. If anything, they played their drums a little bit louder because y'all were in the middle and dancing your hearts out, not giving a care. I still commend you for doing that, by the way. I could see how uncomfortable you were at first, but honestly, after you were up there for maybe like 20, 30 seconds, you're just like, nah, we're getting this. And I think that's a pretty important story to share, getting out of your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to think of a time I stepped out of my comfort zone, which is kind of hard for me to do because I like to think I step out of my comfort zone quite a bit. Like, the thing with me is I have to be presented with an opportunity to get outside of that comfort zone. I don't know, actually. I really, I'm having a hard time thinking about a time when I got out of my comfort zone.
I'm sure I could think of many times.
I could too. I'm trying not to repeat anything that we did on the last one, though, because I could talk about uncomfortable dancing, uncomfortable going to a festival like camping, like Okeechobee. That was a little uncomfortable, but...
What about just racing down the Legacy Trail Bridge on your bike as fast as you can go?
No, still not.
Not so much?
No. It's like... I like to think of myself as having a pretty adventurous spirit, so...
Sagittarius.
Yeah, Sagittarius. I like to do new and different things, and I don't really see it as like a comfort zone issue. Okay, how about recently? I moved out of the house I was staying in with a bunch of roommates, and I was really comfortable there. I always had someone to talk to. There was always something to do and someone to talk to. And now that I've moved and I'm living on my own, all by myself, that's definitely out of my comfort zone because I've never really lived by myself before. I've been on my own for like a week, maybe 2 weeks at most, like when my parents went out of town and I was left alone. But this is a different kind of being alone because it's voluntary. And just kind of getting out of that comfort zone of constantly being around people that you're friends with and transitioning to being more by yourself has been kind of a a comfort challenge for me because I'm very sociable. Like I like hanging out with people, and that's one of the reasons why I work part-time at a restaurant, because I enjoy having that social interaction. So I think living on my own for the first time was definitely stepping out of my comfort zone.
I would totally agree. And I think that that could also be a good stepping stone in what could be escaping the matrix, so to speak. Because whenever you do start to live on your own, you are with your own thoughts a lot more, and you don't quite have the same outlets you might have to share that with other people. And with that, I mean, walking around the house naked, it's a very
Oh, I
liberating
love
feeling.
that. I love
Yeah.
that.
And you can really start to learn more about yourself, what your senses of freedom would be, and what you might want out of life without as many external influences as well.
Sure. One of the most challenging things I've found living by myself is motivating myself, because I've noticed that a lot of my motivation comes from other people, which is rather interesting. Like I'll clean my house before somebody comes over, knowing that somebody will come over. But if somebody wasn't coming over, I probably wouldn't clean it to the same degree as if somebody was. So having that like personal responsibility almost is notched up another level, because it's just you. You're the only person that can do shit for yourself. And I think that's an important step in self-responsibility, and also personal freedom too, is really just getting to know yourself and getting to be the best you can be by yourself, because it's challenging doing things on your own when you don't have any outside influences. And I know sometimes there's going to be days when I'm not going to have anybody around and it's just going to be me. So I really got to try and take that to heart and learn how to be with myself, and how to be with myself in kind of a positive and almost like nourishing way too, because I beat myself up sometimes. I hold myself to a high bar, as a lot of perfectionists in the world do. It's hard to reach that level you set for yourself, but personally for me, I feel like I've grown a lot living on my own here. It's always a challenge though, I tell you that. It is always a challenge.
And I think a really key word you said there is motivation.
Yes.
And some people may disagree with me on this, but personally, I say fuck motivation. And don't mistake me for saying don't attempt to get yourself motivated. What I mean is don't rely on motivation to be the catalyst for you to do something, because motivation is just another emotion. And at least at this point in my life and a lot of other people's lives, motivations ebb and flow just like the tides of the ocean. They come and they go. So if you're only relying on motivation to be that thing that gets you to do things, you could be missing out on a lot of things. So if you have a to-do list to do, even if you're not at all motivated to do it, you still just have to do it. No matter what you're feeling or what you're going through, just do it.
Just do it. Hey, Nike. I can agree with that, because honestly, sometimes I find it hard to find that motivation, and I think you're right. You just kind of gotta just do it, literally.
Yeah.
Part of that is consistency, like doing it day in, day out, doing it next week, next month, and continuing to do it. And that's where, for me, like inspiration comes, because after a certain point of being consistent and persistent, continuously doing something with the same effort, I think you inspire yourself in the long run, because you can look back and see how far you have come from when you started and feel that inspiration kind of fill you from the inside. And then I think that inspiration can take you, dare I say, further than motivation.
Absolutely, for sure. And some really good ways to get motivated and inspired. This, again, goes on some of the psycho-spiritual type of things, but Dr. Joe Dispenza speaks about a lot of some of these things, as well as many other people. And let's say you're not feeling motivated, you're feeling a little heavy as far as emotions go, lethargic, anxious, depressed, something along those lines. Coming back full circle again, you can use some of these breathing techniques and get into a meditative state. And from this meditative state, you can visualize the future that you wish to accomplish as if it has already happened, and then go a step further and harness and feel the emotions of this event that you wish to happen. And it's incredible. Whenever you do this, your brain cannot tell the difference between reality and your imagination. So as you do these things, you are quite actually hardwiring your brain into a brand new state of being as if you have already accomplished the things that you want to do, which can put you on a whole new roller coaster.
And I have a pretty good anecdote for that. When I was running or training for the marathon, I had consistently, every time I was training running, thought about what it would be like to cross the finish line. To finally make it over that finish line and feel that feeling of just overwhelming relief and joy, knowing that I had run 26.2 miles. And honestly, like, I don't want to sound precocious, but it was easier than I thought to run a marathon. And I think it was because I had hardwired those feelings of finishing inside of me. And I knew there was no question that I was going to finish because I had already felt what it was like to finish. I just needed to do it physically.
Absolutely. It's like drawing from a well that never runs out of water.
Or a water bottle.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it's literally this completely infinite source that everyone can tap into at any time. And again, I'm going to say it's a lot easier said than done, because whenever you're feeling heavier emotions, it's hard to get yourself to do that. And it's really interesting concept from Joe Dispenza. These heavier emotions like sadness, anxiety, depression, anger, they're called heavier emotions because on a molecular level, according to some of his books, these emotions are literally heavier. They're more charged with, say, electrons in the electron cloud. They have
more mass.
They have more mass.
Yeah.
Versus a lighter emotion like love, joy, peace, gratitude, excitement. And that's why you might actually feel lighter whenever you're in higher states of being. More light passes through it.
That makes sense. Literally, like, less mass and less electrons are feeding those emotions of, like, positivity, whereas your negative emotions are heavily charged with, like, more electrons or more of these minute particles that are coursing through your body as you're feeling the emotions.
Exactly. It's an incredible concept, and a lot of religions and spiritual expressions have made claims like this thousands and thousands of years ago, but modern technology and modern science is finally starting to have the technology to be able to actually get different readings of these things and help the logical mind out. Because a lot of these spiritual things can indeed be very hard to believe in a Western society fueled on such logic. So for us to be alive in a time where we do have some of this technology at our disposal to be able to actually persuade that side of your mind is an incredible thing.
I would agree. And that's kind of where I see the marriage of, like, Eastern and Western medicine coming together. Super excited for it. I mean, just touching on psilocybin mushrooms real quick, that has been such an integral part of a lot of ancient cultures. Even the Egyptians had mushrooms that they idolized and wouldn't even let the lower classes experience because they believed the fungus had such importance and power. Now, we're seeing Johns Hopkins University come out and doing studies about how a single dose of psilocybin mushrooms can help you with depression, anxiety, and especially near-death anxiety, where you have cancer patients who are literally going to die. They give them psilocybin and it frees them of their death anxiety. They're no longer afraid to die. I think that's pretty powerful when, at a scientific level, you can come study it, have these trials which are randomized and double blind, so there's the least possible chance of any kind of like, I'm just gonna say fuckery, any kind of fuckery going on. Like, what the results that you're seeing are the actual results that are being performed. And if you guys haven't heard about Johns Hopkins work, go look at their website. The Center for what is it?
Center for Psychedelic Awareness?
Center for Psychedelic Research and Consciousness is the one. And they have a bunch of articles on there about how psilocybin even helps people who are addicted to tobacco and alcohol and opioids. And specifically the one about alcohol or tobacco. This one lady did one session. She smoked for like 47 years, like 20 cigarettes a day, something like that. And after her treatment, she couldn't even bring herself to touch a cigarette. Literally could not bring herself to touch a cigarette. And with the addition of the counseling that they provided, because it's not just, oh, you take a mushroom and boom, everything's okay.
No.
It was integrated with special counseling where they went through a process of a couple months talking about the reasons they smoke, why they smoke, why they still smoke, and just kind of getting that self-perspective on it really helped free these people in a way that they weren't able to be freed before. And to me, it's beautiful because that's coming from like an Eastern medicine that we're now applying in a Western way in clinical studies.
Could you say that she escaped a level of the Matrix?
I think she did escape a level of the Matrix, yes. Not being dependent on any kind of substances, I think, is a wonderful start to escaping the Matrix.
Not being dependent on substances as well as external circumstances and stimulus as well, because the universe really works in absolutely incredible ways to the point where you could have accumulated a mass fortune and mass amount of wealth. And you're at this really high point, and then you decide you have something else in your life that you wish to achieve. The universe might have to take everything away from you that you worked so hard till today to get to, so that you can have the room and the space to actually occupy this new reality that you want to be into.
And that kind of, to me, that kind of sounds like trade-offs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you're giving up one thing in exchange for another.
And that makes me want to bring up one of rap line I really liked from the Flatbush Zombies. It's called 2 freaks, 1 meech. That's an even trade-off. Because he is saying he slays in the bed so well that it takes 2 women to get to one to him. And if you haven't heard Flatbush Zombies, go check it out. They're East Coast psychedelic rap, a really incredible group who seems to have done really well, and also escaping the Matrix, which is a reason I look up to them personally.
I think so too, and honestly, they have a really good flow and whatnot, and I think looking to these other people who have escaped the Matrix are good examples. Who else do you think that, like, maybe like popular people have escaped the Matrix? Do you think Joe Rogan has?
Joe Rogan's such a tricky character.
Isn't he though?
He is. I love his podcast. Seems like a really cool dude to hang out with too. And I don't think he has completely escaped the Matrix, but I think he has achieved a level of happiness, freedom, and satisfaction in his life that he is happy with and brings him and his family joy, which at the end of the day is a blessing in and of its own.
I can agree with that. Now, just moving on to one more popular figure, see if we can chisel out anybody that is popular who's escaped the Matrix. What do you think about Elon Musk? He just hit over $500 billion net worth. He's on the S&P 500 now for Tesla. Do you think this man has it figured out? He's literally sending stuff into space.
So I might take the complete opposite approach and say this man is so fucking ingrained in the Matrix in the best way possible, though. He is playing it like it is a fucking video game to a T, and he seems like that he has no limits, not even space.
Damn.
And it is an incredible fucking thing to be alive at the same time of Elon Musk.
I can agree, and I think you do. I think you do have a good perspective on it when you say he's so ingrained in the Matrix. He literally, trying to say literally a bit less, he knows that how the game is played and how things work. And as an engineer himself, he really understands the intricacies of a lot of the. I'll say he knows the intricacies of a lot of strategies and processes that maybe a lot of people aren't aware of. And I think one of the most things that I admire about Elon is he's always hungry to learn more. I read his autobiography, and one of the things he said is he would literally go up to his Jesus, there we go again. He'd go up to his engineers at SpaceX, and he would quiz them. He'd be like, what is this rocket? How much force is this putting out? What is this doing? And he wasn't testing them per se. He was grilling them to get information and to apply that information that they gave him in order to run his businesses and create rockets. And to me, that's impressive. He's using human capital in order to advance humanity.
And a really incredible thing about Elon, too, is his multifaceted character. Elon is a man who talks a lot of business and is thriving successfully. But this is also a man who price point one of his Teslas at $69,420. This is also a man that has been to the Burning Man Music Festival. And this is also a man who was driving, I believe, a McLaren on the highway and was speeding and actually got into a crash because he just wanted to have fun driving his badass sports car.
Oh, yeah. One of my favorite things about him is, so you know the Model S.
Yeah.
You know the Model 3.
Yeah.
You know the Model X.
Of course.
What does that spell? S-E-X?
This guy.
Sex. So I think the next one's going to be a Model Y, so he gets sexy. And now, that could just be a roll of the dice, but I think he had some preconceptions about what he was doing there.
Absolutely. He's a smart man.
He's a smart man, yeah. Those things don't just go over his head. And I don't know if I could describe anyone popular enough that has escaped the Matrix, because I think it's a really personal thing. It's kind of hard to show outwardly
to
others, because as we were saying earlier, it's a lot about your personal and emotional freedom, which has a lot to do with you. You as a person, me as a person, Trent as a person, us as individuals.
Speaking of me as a person and escaping the Matrix, I go by Banu Music, and I did also just release a new track. It's called Only You. So if you want to check that out, it's also on my YouTube channel. I made some pretty cool visuals to go along with it. I made it for people that, let's say you're walking around at a music festival and you get lost from your friend group and you're feeling a little anxious that you won't find them. I made this song so that you could feel at peace and okay, and that everything was going to be all right, and you just fall into this melodic vibe of bass and pleasing high frequencies with an incredible female vocal overplayed it. So if you're feeling like it, go ahead and check that out too. It's also on the YouTube channel, and it's a very new track as well.
Yep. And real quick plug, please hit the subscribe button, guys. If you like what you're hearing so far, if you want to hear more, hit that subscribe button, because we really want to get a base of people who are kind of on the same wavelength. And honestly, at the end of the day, I just want to help people, help each other. And I think this podcast is a step in the right direction for us. So leave a like, subscribe, hit a comment with us, we'll reply back to you. We're people, And with that being said, I'd like to move on to manifestation.
Okay.
Because I think manifesting is an important part of that kind of personal freedom that you can get in order to take steps to escape the Matrix. Now, quick note, me and Trent are in the works of producing a song about manifesting money. Because, believe it or not, money does have some sort of power over us, what we can do in terms of traveling, we'll just say. So I think manifesting what you want in your life is really important. And let's just take a look at the word manifest for a second here. What do you think? What does manifest mean to you, Trent?
So if I break it down in the most complete, basic way that I possibly can right now, I look at it as 3 words. Man, I fest. So I could be sitting here, and it's like fest is kind of short for festival. And what do you do at festivals? You're celebrating. So man, I celebrate. What are you celebrating? You're celebrating the thing that you're trying to manifest. So it's a little bit of wordplay there if I just take it at face value.
I like that. So what are some things you've tried to manifest in your life?
Ooh, I have a great one for that. So whenever I was coming out of high school, I did like dual enrollment college bullshit and all that. So I was taking college classes in high school, and I kind of decided maybe college isn't the route for me. That's not the route I want to take. The route I did want to take, however, at the time was opening my own organic smoothie bar.
I remember that.
So I had a little journal, my manifestation and creation journal, I would call it. And I would write in this about getting my smoothie bar open. I would see it, I would believe it, I would know it's happening, and I would talk to people about it, figuring out how I could make it happen. And I was like a cyclops. I had laser single-eyed vision on this. I drew pictures of the smoothie bar layout in my notebook. I even went so far as to contact a real estate agent to go and look at property for rent next to a gym that we could rent out space to have our smoothie bar. And the universe wasn't feeling it that way, but I did still successfully manifest it. And it happened because I had gone to a local juice bar called Crop Juice, Cold Raw Organic Pressed is what that standed for. And I was talking to this girl behind the counter a couple days, and I shared with her my idea, because part of manifestation, some people think you should stay quiet about it, some people think you should do what you can to bring it about. So she introduced me to the owner of the juice bar, and he actually had a juice bar in a gym, and he did not think a juice bar fit with the gym crowd, so he wanted to convert it to a smoothie bar. So I talked to him, and he actually allowed me to go take over that juice bar, transform it into an all-organic smoothie bar, and within a year of me having that vision, I was actually operating, creating the menu, doing social media management, and I even hired a friend to work at that smoothie bar with me. So the power of manifestation, from my personal experience, is very real, and it is something that I actually successfully did with the help of faith in the universe, and it is not something to take lightly, in my opinion.
Not at all. And real quick, do you think that because you told someone else about your manifesting, that it actually forwarded it?
If I didn't tell that girl about my idea, that whole thing would have never happened.
Exactly. So that brings me to a point, again, touching on what you said, is in the process of manifesting what you want, I do think it's important to tell others about it, because just like writing it down is important, also telling other people is important. Because when you tell other people that, like, oh, hey, I'm going to do this, or I'm thinking of doing this, it kind of gives a certain responsibility to it. Like, all right, this is real now. I'm telling somebody about this. Like, I didn't really know I was going to run a marathon, but then I started being like, hey, man, I'm going to go run a marathon. I'm going to run a marathon. I told everybody that that anybody would listen to me, and that made it almost impossible for me not to run it. I'm like, I have to do this for all the people that I told I was going to do it. And even for the people who didn't believe me, even when you tell people about your manifestation and they don't believe you, or they don't think that you can do it or you're capable, to me that just gives me more fire. It's like, I'm going to prove them wrong, and I'm going to prove myself right, because I know that I'm capable of manifesting whatever the fuck I want. And same goes for all of you guys who are listening. You are capable of manifesting whatever the fuck you want.
And we're reaching about an hour here, and I think that's a really high note to kind of stop this podcast on for now, and wait till they join in next time.
Yeah, that works for me.
Cool.
So we'll just say goodbye to everybody. As of recording, this is on Thanksgiving, so happy holidays. Hope y'all are thankful for a bunch of stuff. I know I am. And we will see you guys next time on how to escape the Matrix.
Absolutely.
All right. Have a good day, guys. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you. Love you.